Hello, everyone, and welcome back to First and 15th. I am normally your host, Carol, but today we have a special guest host, my dear friend Jonna, who had the great idea of turning the tables. So we're going to be hosted by Jonna, and the guest is me, Carol. So, Jonna, this is your show.
All right, we're taking over.
Yes.
We're turning the tables, right? Well, Carol, like you mentioned in your introduction, we've been good friends for a few years
And I don't know
now.
how long.
Yeah. Time is moving
Yes.
time is moving with or without us. So I'm really excited to talk to you today on your own show, First and 15th. So proud of what you're doing here. And I really felt like it was important that other people hear the story about how you got here, what you had to overcome to do this, and what you're really looking forward to doing in your messaging and your work. So
Yeah,
so let's get
I
into
appreciate it.
it. All right. So a little grace because I'm not the host normally. I'm not normally the host, but we're gonna get into it today. So I kind of wanted to start a little bit with your personal journey and your identity. Like, who is Carol, right? Because we hear so much about your guests, and you really like you get into who they really are. So we want to know a little bit more about Carol, the host. You wear so many different hats in your life, as most of us women of color do. Your wife, your mother, you're a public servant,
Yes.
you're an entrepreneur.
Yes, entrepreneur. And I'm embracing that more and more.
Yeah.
Stepping out of my comfort zone because honestly, like with this show, this was never in my plan to have a YouTube show.
Yeah.
Social media was not my strong suit. And so I realized that by having a business, I need to really step out. And so, like my sister, she is a social media guru. Like she's the queen because she has taught me a whole lot. So that's how I got here, kind of. So, about me. As you said, I'm a wife, a mother, I have three daughters who are, at the time of the recording, they are 11, 14, and 17. And so it's the ultimate girl squad. And I have a husband who's actually right upstairs. And so they keep me busy. Um, I am definitely happy that I'm doing this because I have had so many ideas about how I can help other people to just get their light shown or shined on, and I never even ever thought about me being a guest.
Yeah.
So like when you had that idea, I was thinking, oh, that's new. That I mean, it never ever once occurred to me to talk about myself because I really want to focus on the guest. So I was like, okay, sure. Okay, so
Well, I'm excited we got a chance.
okay, so like we met at work. And so I honestly can't even recall like how we began talking, but I remember like it was the cafeteria.
It was a
It was like
cafeteria during a lunch break.
like a lunch break.
Right.
So,
And we were way up at like Bethesda somewhere. We were like around the
yeah, we
around the
were
belt.
at the agency who we won't say his name.
Yeah, we won't say. And you know what's funny about it is that, you will talk to anybody. You will talk to anybody. And most people think, I guess maybe because of my demeanor, that I'll talk to anybody. I'm extroverted. It's true that most of the time I will talk to anybody, but I really do get my energy sort of from being alone. Um, but it's like when I engage with somebody at a very deep level from the beginning, it's like I'm locked in.
Yeah.
I'm locked in. And Carol just was like, I think you work in ACF and I work in ACF. No, I see you around the building. And I was like, okay, girl. Like she came through so bright and confident and energetic. And it was like that girl vibe, that girl vibe.
I had
You
no
know?
clue how we started talking. I
Yeah.
just knew that it was at that work training conference, whatever it was.
Are
And
you
then,
cool? And it was tackling me every 6 months. Did you get the certification?
that's I'm
Did you
like,
get the certification? Jonna, just do the training. Just. And here's me. Oh, I'm all over the place. This what you do. Sign up for this. I'm gonna send you a link. These are the 3 classes you take. I'm gonna check in with you in 3 months.
yeah, that
4 years later, I still didn't have a certification.
But you got it now.
We got it now. We got it now. Still working on it. Still working on a higher level. So that's how we met. And you even said to me, you said, I'm gonna follow up with you. I got your email address because we need more, Black women, excelling in their career. And this is something that's gonna help you excel. And you didn't know me from Adam. Like we hadn't even spoke
Right.
in the hallway at
You're
our
right about
agency
that.
before. And that's that brown girl love. We see each other. It's the I guess what I call the old polka dot, the okay polka dots theory. It was uh Amanda, what's her name? Is it Amanda Seals? Or Amanda Amanda,
Seals?
the Amanda girl, the
Yeah.
one that got canceled.
Yeah.
And she well, not canceled, but
Right, I know what you mean.
yeah,
I know what you mean.
but she was like, Black women, when we see other Black women, we compliment each other based on like one thing that we see. And she said, we'll look at each other and be like, okay, polka dot,
Nobody else
that's
does that. Okay,
that's you,
yo.
200%, 200%. That's you.
My mom is that way too. 1%. Okay, so I guess we gotta. Well, yeah, I guess yeah. So I'm gonna stop that. Well, I have a charger. It's upstairs, but let me just end this. Well,
Yeah, just keep going. It'll just die.
Is it C style?
yeah.
Oh,
Your computer charger.
Oh, duh. Oh, thank you. I forgot about that.
like which one?
Hopefully, it gets there in time.
You got it. All right. Well, now I'm
Talk about three brains working together.
Okay. Yeah, but you gotta see the charger.
Okay, because it may still die.
Yeah, I had to just readjust it because I moved it. So let me just make sure it's staying where it needs to be, and then we can go in.
That's okay.
All right. Okay, you are on your mother.
Oh yeah. So, like, so my mom, she's so outgoing. She'll talk to anybody, and my dad does too. So I'm the product of two extroverts, and so my sister, she's an introvert because she knows that I talk too much, dad talks too much, mom talks too much. So she's the opposite. She's like, I don't want to, y'all, but for real, I just did not realize that so many people, I'm just like Black women in this case, because we're Black women, like, find that one thing. Because my husband be like, there you go again talking about, because I will say, oh, look at you with you come on, New Balance, come on, gray shirt, come on. And I thought that was just me, but I'm happy to say I have company now.
Well, yes, you have company amongst all of us because I really feel like it's the brown girl, like I call it the polka dot, the okay polka dot, energy. Like we so have that. And I love that, like as women of color, we really progress beyond the hating and the jealousy. You have your few individuals, but I'm so glad that as a collective, we really progressed beyond that because the rest of the world is so abrasive to us as it is, right? And so encouraging and uplifting each other is really important.
Yes.
Well, I'm excited we got a chance to make this happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. How would you say, you were just talking about all those things, right? Motherhood, and being a wife and entrepreneur, and now hosting your own show.
Yeah.
How would you say that you define yourself beyond those titles?
And that is something actually that is part of me being a business owner. So it took me actually until September of 2022 to actually have a light bulb moment of who am I besides a wife and a mother. So yes, I am those things, but I honestly lost who I was as a woman. So I knew, of course, I'm a woman and I like to do things like get my nails and a hair done. But in terms of my substance, I really lost who I was from the time that my oldest daughter was born till I guess she would have been maybe 15 at the time. And so that was the beginning of me trying to figure out how do I have value as not just a wife and a mom. And so I had a podcast with my husband, and I hope it comes back one day. I'm not sure, but as of now, it's on a long hold, and we'll try again later. But with the YouTube show, that actually was birthed out of the podcast with he and I, because I love hearing people's stories about how did they overcome maybe a challenge, how did they reach a certain milestone. And so with YouTube, it was so important for me to not just have audio, but have the visual, to bring in the guests. In that way, they can see the expressions, the movement, like they can really feel the
Right.
energy. And so, like with me having with me defining myself as whoever does those things, I actually am working on something that is so dear. I'm so proud of it, just to really help moms to then rediscover, redefine, and revalue themselves besides being just a mother. So
Yeah.
you pulling things out, better in the work still. It's the slow stair stuff, but it's coming.
It was already shining through.
Oh.
It was shining through when you started this effort and you were really sharing why. When you were sharing with me why you even started and sort of showing me that vision for yourself, you were at that point where you were saying, like, Jonna, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and I'm really feeling like those things are taking over, and who am I and what's for me. And I don't think that that's unique. I think that there are so many women, particularly women of color, who feel that weight of family, who feel that weight of community on their shoulders. And they need an opportunity, especially at our big age, to be able to, at this point in life, as our children are getting older, and we're feeling a little bit more settled in career and things, that we really sort of pull back from those titles and really say, who am I?
Yes.
What's for me?
And that is spot on, because I just did not know how much was inside of me as far as just being creative.
Yeah.
In terms of just not like doing arts and crafts, because I do like to do that kind of stuff. But as far as like adding substance to like my life, to other people's lives, I just had no clue what was just about up inside me, because I always valued lifting others up, and that would never ever change. And so I have a website actually that we'll maybe get to later, which is redefineyou.com.
Okay, that's plug.
That's the plug. But
that's the plug.
Yeah. Keep on going.
One plug's of many to come. Well, you mentioned like seeing what was inside of you. So can you talk about like what strengths that you realize really shine through for you personally, your innate strengths that sort of lend, towards the things that you've gotten into?
Definitely. So for as long as I've lived, because I just have been raised in a way to value others. So yes, have my own self-worth, but to not turn my back on maybe others who need help. So I have always done something to help others. So whether it's working at a food bank, whether it's volunteering at a homeless shelter, I just have this desire that actually feeds my soul to just make sure that other people are doing well in whatever it is that their area is. So that's been inside me since I was a little kid, since I was in the single digits, that I was pissed off.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, even in this space and wanting to tell people's story, but even how we met as public servants working in the space of human services, that really shines through as one of your personal strengths, attributes, and something that you really value.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, what would you say as a woman of color in particular, navigating all these multiple spaces? We talked about, the career woman, the entrepreneurship, and now you're in media, which is like right.
Never, ever, ever thought.
Right.
I'm embracing it, and I am loving it.
Yeah, media is a big one. How would you say, how have you had to advocate it for yourself? And what do you think in advocating for yourself it has taught you?
So do you mean like in terms of like me get to the point of having a YouTube show, or just like life in general, like being a
all your spaces, because even like us, being public servants, in that space, and having your own business
Right.
and working with clients and working maybe with other businesses. You know, there's spaces where, you know, we have to advocate for ourselves. And even in this space, I feel like, you know, being a voice for the voices of
Yes.
others, right? So how has advocating for yourself looked in this journey?
Yeah. So in this journey, as far as you know, as me growing from someone that had a podcast that was just audio with no visual to being on screen, something that actually sticks out with me is the doubt that people would sow because I stutter. And so I have embraced that as part of who I am, but that does not define who I am. And so when it came time to really doing something for myself that had a voice, I would have just had so many regrets had I not taken these steps, had I not said, Carol, even though you may sound different, you still have value to add. You still have words that can empower others. You can still have people on your show who I want to highlight. And so that's something that I can say I've um, advocated for, but not really in this space. Because for me, I've always embraced don't let my fear hold me back. Now, there are times I was like stuck because you know, like last year, I was like, oh, hard year for many reasons. But I just am just so grateful for just me taking that step and just speaking up for myself. Because if you don't do it for yourself, you're gonna not have anyone else in your corner.
Right.
And if you do have them in your corner, they can believe in you to the moon.
Right.
Those kind of things. But if you don't believe in yourself, you may think that they may be lying to you or exaggerating. So you gotta believe in yourself. You gotta speak up for yourself, definitely.
Yeah. I love that. So let's shift a little bit. Let's talk about that other role of motherhood, wife, family balance, because that's what we already talked about was a lot, you know, just to manage through life. But, you know, being a mother to teenagers and a wife, juggling a very demanding career, also a business and your passions, that's no small feat whatsoever, right?
I'll be trying.
And you're doing it. You're not just trying, girl. You're doing too. And let's go back for a second because you did mention the naysayers, the doubt sowers. So let me go back for a second because some of those doubt sowers are watching. So this isn't So we're talking to people for you to inspire, but we're also reaffirming to those doubt sowers, like you know who you are.
Yeah.
Because you're watching too. But I'm gonna keep it on a positive note. I'm gonna shift back to motherhood and family.
But actually, so on that note, at my age of over 40, I was actually surprised that at this medium-sized age, not a big age yet, because we still got many years to go, but I was really surprised that people who are fully grown adults who are my age range and older would still have doubts about, oh, Carol, you stutter, like you can't do this, you can't do that. And I was thinking they really can't mean that. But then when I would hear it again, it only happened, it was with two people in my 40 plus years, but it was different times with them. And just hearing that didn't have me discouraged, but it just really had me thinking like, wow, like the ignorance of someone to cast their doubts on someone because they sound different, because there are so many abilities that are out there. Like, you don't have to have a disability. It's just different. And so that helped me see that, okay, Carol, keep on going, because the audacity of grown people to be like, to say to my face. So even behind the back, I'm sure it's even louder, but to my face, I'm like, whoa, okay.
But that really is just a reflection of their judgments and a projection of their fears.
So their own insecurities too.
Yeah. So it's good that you didn't absorb that enough to stop, you know, or even increase and add to your own personal fears, because, you know, that's what courage is. We fear, and we do it afraid.
Yes.
So I show them that courage. I've always used that every time we talk. I always use that word with you.
Yes.
Don't I? I always use courage when I talk to this girl. She's very encouraging because she carries a lot of courage in what she does.
Appreciate that. I'm being myself.
Yeah. So we're gonna flip over to the other part of your story for a second, family.
Yes.
So your mom's a teenager, your work, you're doing a lot, juggling a lot. And as many of us women of color are doing, many things in our basket and on our plate. So tell me, how do you prioritize your time and your energy?
Ooh, that is a fantastic question, Jonna, because in reality, it's been hard at times to really balance. How do I still be a good wife, a good mother, own businesses, plural, grow those businesses, and then not have the guilt? And so when I had that whole wake up call, because that was September of 2022, and so that was actually a fantastic year for me. But something happened to me in the summer, and it wasn't anything bad. It was just like a culmination of Carol, like wake up. And so when I had that wake up call, I actually felt guilt still. It was the guilt of me finally finding things that I want to do for myself.
Yeah.
And then how do I balance being a wife, being a mother, and still being that go-to person? Because my kids know that I am there for every activity, every performance, whatever they have going on. I don't miss anything. And well, actually, I've only missed, I think, like 2 games ever. Like during
Every
like,
time I talk to you, I'm gonna wait till the game. That kid's got a game tonight. Okay.
yeah, so I can proudly say I've only missed, I think, maybe 3 games
Yeah.
in like combined with all 3 kids. But I had to actually, honestly had to, but with my mom guilt that I was feeling, because my kids knew that, mom is usually gonna be home in the afternoon,
Right.
mom is here on the weekends, mom is here for you all and not really for myself. So I sat with them and I told them that I'm going through some changes. It wasn't anything bad, but it was just me telling them that things will be different. They know that I am still here for you, but I may not always be able to be as engaged in the evenings or the weekends because I am really trying to grow things for myself. My oldest daughter, her exact words to me, I remember so well. We were upstairs on, okay, I can be false. So this studio is actually in my house. So when I say upstairs, I mean because we're home.
Right.
So this is our basement.
Talk about it. Talk about it. We're gonna talk
Yeah,
about the
so
studio.
upstairs. Yeah. So we were upstairs in the kitchen, and I remember her vividly saying, "Mom, finally, it's about time."
Yeah.
And so I did not expect my oldest daughter to, number one, have a reaction, and number two, to give me that kind of assurance, like, Mom, like you're always here for all of us, like be here for yourself.
Right.
So that can help her siblings to say, okay, well, the oldest daughter is on board, so like middle and younger, like it's okay. So that was a lot of reassurance. Now, I will say for my husband, who I love tremendously, that was rough.
Right. It was adjustment for
Yes,
him.
adjustment,
Got it.
definitely adjustment.
Yeah.
Because he was also used to me being so available for what they need. Now, I'm not a perfect wife because no one is. So at times there's clothes that sit in the basket to be washed or folded or ironed because that's life. But I know the
They're in the
audacity.
basket.
I know it. They haven't been ironed yet. But
Or they stay in the basket until it's time to put them on sometimes. Let's be real.
but it was definitely an adjustment for him
Yeah.
and then for us. And so I am really happy that by this point that we have gotten past those humps.
Right.
And it wasn't a road, it was a hump, a mountain, not even a speed bump. And so I was thinking, can we make it? Because he just wasn't used to me just being so about myself.
Sure.
And I was doing it in a way that I thought was still giving time, but I knew that there were times that I had to just be like, hey, look, dinner's on the table, like figure it out, because I have to either go works out quietly, but it was adjustment. But
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah. Good. Good. I
Thank you,
think
baby. Thank you, Jason.
give him some love.
Yes.
Some love. But he made a lot of this, happen for you too,
Yeah.
and supporting you through that.
Yes, he is, and I will say now for he and I, he is my biggest supporter and at times biggest critic, but also for me, I'm his biggest supporter and at times his biggest critic. So I
Right.
definitely appreciate the tough love, I'll say.
Yeah. And I love how you mentioned how supportive the girls were, I have a daughter as well, which she is on production
Yes,
assistant
shout
today,
out.
makeup assistant.
Yes, she was doing all the behind the scenes for us.
Yeah. So
as
shout out to
moms.
Julie. Shout out
Yes.
to Julie for supporting today. So, as parents, it's like, with the teenagers, this is not the age that they listen. When they were little, they listen. This is the time when they're watching, and so that was just so encouraging to hear, because when you think about that feeling of mom guilt, when reality, they're looking to us to set that tone for how they are as young women and how they will be as wives and how they will be as mothers. And so, what a gift you've given them and showing them, like,
Yeah.
fill up your cup.
Yeah, and you're right, John, that is so important because of course, I am their mother, but I'm also their first female role model. So
Yeah.
I've had to also balance having a family of 5 people here, but all daughters. So I have to also balance how do I be a good example of a wife and then also be a good example of the first female role model.
Yeah.
So that has really been at times a tug on,
Yeah.
do I say things? Do I not say things? Do I give them the empowerment? And so I will always empower them to be their best, to not let people hold them back. But also being a wife, I have to be mindful of how I say those things. Because it's more like, hey, I got a husband, he's the only male here, but I have these 3 daughters who need that, like, go girl, you got it. So it's a balance.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
still balancing.
Yeah, you are. You are. So I would say then, what advice would you give to women who feel like they're constantly being pulled in every direction? What would be your, go-to advice for this one?
Yeah, so I would give you 3 things.
Okay.
So the first thing I'll say is to figure out in yourself, what do you want to do besides being a wife and a mother, or if you work full time out of the home or if you're in the home, it doesn't matter. But aside from being a mother, I'll say, because some moms are not married, that's totally fine.
Right.
Figure out what you want to do that makes you happy. And then also, if you have a partner or a spouse, tell your partner or spouse what you're feeling before you probably jump in. Because I jumped in head first, neck first, opposed to saying, hey, baby, that's an idea. We talked about it, but it was more like talking about it as I go, opposed to saying, here's what I'm thinking about. And then that way they know.
Right.
That's number 2. And number 3 is to talk to your children based on their age. So if they're toddlers or younger, like you don't have to give it the whole rundown. But if they're maybe middle school teens or even full-grown adults, like I'm telling them that that mom is going through some different things to really help find balance in myself, because when you're balanced as a woman, you can then be a better mother. And so it may seem like you're not here as much, but in reality, like you're doing it for the family.
Yeah.
Yes, those are my 3 things.
Yeah. Sounds counterproductive, but I think that's really, good advice that we all really need to understand about putting our own mask first,
Yes.
filling up our cup, and filling ourselves up so that we can be full for the people and the
Definitely.
things in our life. Yeah.
Those are definitely lessons learned of things I would have done differently, as far as number 2 was talk to your partner before you jump in first in. Lesson learned, y'all, for the wives and moms.
So shout out again to hubby
Yeah, thank you, baby.
for all the loving patience and support. Yeah. So let's make another shift. So I want to talk about one of the things that we talked about in the past in terms of you getting into the space with the podcast. And as you mentioned, having a stutter. And I want to talk about it in the frame of you embracing your voice.
Okay.
Yeah. You've been open, you know, with me and I'm sure with many others about having a severe stutter. And that's something that often silences. But you actively, like intentionally,
Too much.
you intentionally chose to start a podcast where you would be front and center using your voice. What would you say? Here comes our word again.
Okay.
There you go. What would you say gave you the courage to step up to this space?
Okay. So it's actually, I'm taking back to the actual podcast that was all audio. And
Yeah.
so that was with Jason and myself. So shout out to our podcast. With the podcast that we had, it was never planned. It was planned to be on camera, but we didn't know when. And so I don't consider myself someone that has a severe stutter in terms of I would just like not speak because in this realm there are people who don't want to talk, who shut down, who maybe say things like a one word answer. And so that's not me. But in terms of the courage, I honestly didn't feel it was courage. It was me being me because I am someone who's talkative. I've been told, Carol.
Very.
Yes, very talkative.
Your friend who's on the other side of the phone can tell you. Very.
And we have long conversations.
At this point. Yeah.
No, but actually, I've had the courage, but to me, it wasn't courage. It was just part of who I am because I really value just learning about other people. And so, with this podcast, again, it was all audio. To me, it wasn't courageous. It was more. It was my husband and I just doing things together, and that was a phenomenal time. We did, I think, 44 episodes of of the Linguistics Show. So it'll come back eventually, but then like with the YouTube, that was something that was not in the plan. But I just was trying to find ways. How can I delve deeper into certain topics with certain guests? So the podcast, we rarely had guests. It was Jason and myself as the co-hosts.
Right.
We had guests that be on the 5 times. I'm not guessing a number, but it was focused on topics that were of interest of us being married, being parents, culture, whatever and stuff. But then me being someone who was curious, and I've been told, shout out to my high school friend who I won't say his name. He told me when I was in high school, nosy people get shot. And I was like, no, they don't. He was like, yes, they do. But they're taking sorry, but then taking that phrase or analogy, whatever is the term, I was just really curious about how do I learn more about people's stories? How do I get guests who maybe are inspiring? So then, like with the YouTube and being on camera, that is something that I wasn't I wasn't scared of doing, but I was mindful of the fact that on audio, when I did stutter, nobody would see me maybe like pause because there's no camera. It's just audio. But then on camera, I am mindful of, okay, maybe take more deep breaths. Don't say certain things in certain ways because I may stutter. And so it was, I guess, a little bit encouraged, but it was more of I would feel bad if I did not do this.
Yes.
I would have regrets. And with my age of in my 40s, even when I was younger, I don't want to have regrets because that's not going to help me. And
Yeah.
so I would have missed out on my blessing if I did not do this. So there was no other way but to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the lesson.
Yeah.
No.
That was windy road lesson.
That was the lesson. That was the lesson. Because there are many of us that are sitting in spaces where there are things that we could be doing. There are things we should be doing. There are things that we strongly desire to do. But we're allowing those fears to hold us back. Right.
And this fear. And actually, with the podcast, there was an episode that I did with my dad. And so again, it was not on camera, it's all audio. I will link that probably in the show notes or whatever. But with my dad, his story is really inspiring. So check out his podcast episode. I'll link it because he's great. But what he would tell me as a kid, and even the last few years, even now, is be scared to not do it. So don't be scared to do it. Be scared to not do it. So whatever is your it, have enough faith, have enough passion to just do it. Because if you don't, you're gonna have regrets.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Thank you, Dad.
Simultaneous
Oh man, so we're gonna do another a little bit of a shift, not so much.
This is
So-
your show.
So I get to run this today. I feel like you just spoke to, what that message should be for those who are feeling like they are stuck and they're not, they're letting fear hold them back from pursuing their dreams. Just based on a perceived limitation.
Yeah.
And there's so much of that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll do it, when I lose 30 pounds
Right.
or when I get the equipment or,
Yes.
a lot of us do that. So it's just very encouraging, whether it was driven by, like you said, who you are, and in moments where you've had to display courage. So both of those are really encouraging to me, and I'm sure it will be to others who listen as well. That we gotta push past,
Yes.
pursue, and be you.
Yeah.
You like that? That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
All
All right, people in the background are rolling their eyes. Okay, no more 50 quotes from me. So I'm gonna start with the quotes. I'm just gonna stick to the question.
That was Tyler original. I had to read that up.
It was.
Okay, but it's okay.
I still shamelessly. So let me go back to the podcast because you spoke about that quite a bit, and you spoke about your father being a guest. Who on your podcast has been your most memorable guest?
Okay, so with a podcast or a YouTube show, because
Well, both.
okay,
I guess
so-
both. So with the YouTube show,
Okay.
who's been your most memorable guest?
Oh man, yes. So it's gonna be my host.
No, I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, somebody who was really impactful, in the
yeah.
things that you spoke about.
And so actually it was one of my guests. He is an actor. And so I met him in college. Shout out to Gene Patrick Smith, who I still call Patrick because that's how I met him as Patrick in college.
Okay.
But with him, he was raised and trained to follow a set path of engineering, like do something that is academically bound as your career.
Right.
So I forgot what year it was. We were in our 20s, maybe almost 30, but he put on Facebook that he is leaving he is quitting his job as an engineer and moving to California.
Okay.
And he had no family out there, no friends. Acting was not what he did in college. He was not in the theater. He was not doing all that. And so out of all my, and now we'll say every guest who has been on first and 15th is someone who I have a passion for learning from them. And some of them have been strangers too. So if you're a stranger and said yes, thank you. I appreciate it because I got to expand my horizons. But anyhow, so with the guest Patrick, his story of just having fear, because he was scared, because he's leaving his comfort zone of his career. He's leaving the East Coast, going to the West Coast. And just hearing his story of how he was homeless during that period, of California because he didn't know anyone. And so that really helped me see that, Carol, if there was a passion, even if I do have fear, I would be remiss if I did not do it. So I love every guest who's been on, also including you, because you were one of my first guests. You were my first guest 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But no, but that would be the most inspiring story,
Yeah.
I will say, because that was like, Carol, you are someone who does not take risks because I am a safe person. So, like you mentioned courage, I never thought of myself as someone who is courageous because I don't take risks. Now, my sister, Melanie, she's just amazing. My husband, he's spontaneous. I'm the one who plays it safe. But I will say, actually, with COVID, that also helped me to step out a little bit more out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, I can let my kids maybe miss a day of school for an activity because an example was prior to COVID, they would miss no school for anything.
Right.
If there was a trip coming up, I would say, nope, wait for the weekend. And so like me taking a risk, I'll say, is saying, yes, you can miss school for vacation.
You started small. You started small.
Yes, so risk taking, someone may call it a risk, like me doing this YouTube show, like me talking to strangers, like me
Right.
finding folks on IG instead of them a DM and saying, hey, I've seen you on Instagram and you have this really great story. I know you don't know me. I have this YouTube show. Do you want to talk about it and be a guest? And so most of them have said yes. So that actually to me is the courage of me talking to a stranger to talk about my show because I would talk to a stranger anywhere. At times, I'm like,
I was a stranger that you That's how we know each other.
so it's never about, for me at least,
Yeah.
talking to strangers. It's more of I have this project that I am still navigating because I am not anyone's YouTube star. I am no social media influencer. I am Carol Bush, the passionate person. So the courage comes with asking a stranger and then being vulnerable enough to possibly hear the no. And then also picking myself back up because the no's that I got, I think that was last year, that crushed me because I was like, here I am,
Right.
putting myself out to these strangers who I met on Instagram, who I follow, whatever, send them a DM, and then they're like, yeah, I want to do it, but then when it's time, they're like, no. So that really hurt my courage.
Right.
But like you actually helped me to see like, okay, Carol, it's content creation. Like, don't get stuck on the no. So thank you for the pickup last year too, because I was like, here I am. I have this great idea. I love to help people, and I'm being courageous enough to say hi, stranger, and they're like, bait and switch. So,
Yeah.
and that actually still is something that I struggle with reaching out to strangers for this project. Now, if you're in the street, but if you're walking down and you gotta keep after I'm like, hey, you look cute, or hey, so and so. But when it comes to this, because this is my passion.
Right.
So yes, like we work in the workforce, but me helping others thrive, whether it's my party planning business, whether it's I redefine you, it's all about helping others. So that takes courage, and I really had to face that fear of what if they say no because they don't know me.
Right.
So that's why I'm really, really glad that we had this rebranding going on, and I'm really able to use what I learned last year with those guesses that were the no's to then step out with the courage and to see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do have some ideal guests who you'll ask about later.
I sure will. I sure will. Because you were talking about sort of the defeat feeling,
Yes,
you know,
it was
when we
beyond
get the
defeat
no.
last year.
Yeah.
So actually, it wasn't the no that bothered me. It was the people who would say yes and then no. So
Yeah.
I can handle no. I can handle rejection, but it's more of I don't like when someone says, like, yeah, I'll be a guest. But I'm like, okay, well, you said yes. Like, we're talking about it, we met about it, and then you're like, crickets. And
Yeah.
so I can see on the text or on the or on the IG that when it's like red or has the bubbles, obviously y'all saw it. So that was discouraging. But I passed that.
I was a discouraging cricket as well.
I was no, I'm not. No, I'm not. That's not what I'm
No,
talking
no, no.
about.
I know you're not. But, to your point, when it comes to working with people and making their yes mean yes and their no mean
Yeah,
no,
like just
and
tell me no.
eventually today we made our yes mean yes,
It's for
but telling people,
yeah,
just
yeah.
just telling
Yeah,
them,
just
like
tell me
it
no.
doesn't align, it
Mhm.
doesn't work with my schedule, it
Yeah.
doesn't work with what I'm working on right now. I
Yeah.
mean, that's sort of a lesson to all of us,
Yeah.
because people will reach out to you and it's like, and people reach out to me and it's like sometimes difficult
Yeah.
to kind of be like, no, because you recognize with the no,
Yeah.
I mean, not so much the no, because the no is fine because now we're gonna go on and we're gonna keep asking,
Yeah.
But it's like the fear and it's like like you said, the bait and switch. Like,
Yeah.
are we on? What are we doing?
Yeah.
The chasing behind. So I do get that. I will say, as opposed to the no's, the no's that sort of deter us, what would be for you the ultimate yes, the ultimate person for you to interview? Who would that be for you?
So I did have one,
Okay.
maybe about 2 years ago. So one of my friends was like, Carol, I don't think that he's feeling that. And so I won't say his name on camera, but I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Now
I'm not gonna tell.
so shout out to my cousin Jordan, who's also a guest. He is he's the NFL Super Bowl winner and record holder, all kind of stuff. So he had an event. This was 2 years ago.
Okay.
And so there was this person there. I was like, okay, now this is a room, this is a small room, maybe about 30 some people. So it was
I think I know who it is. I couldn't think it.
you actually want to
I
forgot about
I'm
that.
not gonna tell.
Right.
So tell your story, girl. Say your story.
So then when I saw him, I was like, friend's name.
Uh-huh.
I was like, let me go talk to him because I am building this YouTube show and he'd be a cool guest, even though I am a nobody to him. My cousin knows him, so I'll be like, hey, cousin, like, can you put a plug? Now, actually, I will say, I am so scared to ask my relatives for connections. That gives me fear and pause because I don't want my cousins or people in the family to think I am using them because I am not a user.
Yeah.
So that's something that I may have to get the courage enough to be like, hey, can you put me in contact with someone who maybe knows that person?
Right.
So I will work on that this year. But in the meantime, with that guest, maybe that can happen. But the other one, Shannon Sharp, Unc, if you could be a guest, I would love that because I just love your show.
Yeah.
His show it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know at the time that Shannon Sharp had his I guess called a podcast, YouTube show.
Okay.
His show. So I had heard of it, but I didn't know based on the name, Club Shay Shay, who the actual host was,
okay.
because that was good. That I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And so I've heard from some of my other guests, which also counts you too, that my style is engaging. It brings you in. And so honestly, I'm being myself. Like when I talk to guests, like now for you and I, it was Instagram Live. That was in the beginning. So that was a struggle because I was like, it was working out. Because
we were working on the technology and all that.
That was trial and error.
Yeah.
But that really helped me to figure out how do I make it better. So
But to your point, your natural style is like it's casual, it's comfortable, it's who you are. It's not performative. Right. So even though we were dealing with technology, it still was very comfortable for me, someone who was nervous being on the camera itself. You know, I talked to you about that before I got on.
You know,
But if you like, this is better than you say. And I was like, okay, girl. And everybody that's on this live,
Yes.
okay. But you know, to your point, that natural style of just having a conversation and just kind of be free flowing is something that I think you had said you connected with in terms of his style of conversation. too.
Yes, definitely. And so I would love to have Shannon Sharp as a guest. However, make cover that happen. So if someone knows him,
Yes, somebody else is watching this.
yes,
Add him.
Yep,
Hashtag him. Send him forward. Pigeons. Carrier pigeons. Fire signal.
because
Your girl wants to. She wants to
that would be
make that happen.
That would be my ultimate guess. And you know, and actually, when I was watching his show more and more, because I'll say the mainstream, it was set off by Cat Williams because I didn't even watch the show prior to. So I have heard it before, didn't know who the host was, but we all, I would say worldwide, know Cat Williams set it off for that show. And so watching more of the podcast, so Club Shay Shay, watching more of that, and then hearing how he stuttered as a kid and he didn't let it hold, um, he did, he did not let that hold him back. And so I didn't even realize at that time that of him being my ideal guest that he stuttered. It was me just watching the show more and more. And so when I was okay, wait a minute, he's engaging like me, charismatic. I think I was one.
It's in your name. Karal, charismatic.
Yeah. And so just watching his show more and watching his style, it's like there are so many similarities. So I don't have a crew. Maybe one day I'll have a crew. I need one. But you know, but with his style, there's just so much that just speaks to me. Plus with him stuttering, that is even more of a reason to be like, wow, this is a phenomenal example of just someone who is living through their passion. And also, James Earl Jones, who has passed away, he's someone who stuttered, and he had a phenomenal.
He is the
decade.
voice.
Yes, he is
he is the real Mufasa, not Harriet Pierre. No, he is the OG Mufasa.
Yeah, and just knowing that there are people who stutter who have made an impact. And so I can only really think of 3 people who were in a mainstream, I guess, worldwide kind of spotlight who stutter. And that is James Earl Jones, Shannon Sharp, who I didn't know that at the time until like last year, and President Joe Biden. And so besides those 2 people, there is no one who I can readily think of or know of who is on a speaking platform regularly who stutters. And so with me stuttering, that is only one aspect of me. And so I would love just to show people as well, you can do things. You can be a success in your education, in your career, your social life, your family life, even if you sound differently. So take that, people.
Take that. But you made a really good point about Shannon Sharp. You talked about his Cat Williams show.
Yes.
Yeah, and how that it set it off in some ways, because I think about where I intersected with Shannon Sharp, you know, having all brothers, literally all brothers. You know, was sports, right? First. And so he was doing sports hosting, broadcasting media. You know, so millions already knew who Shannon Sharp was. But he multiplied those millions and really expanded with that one show, just kind of catapulted that now we're like, we are looking for who the next conversation is.
Wednesday.
With Shannon.
I've been like, okay, what?
Yeah.
I've been like, it's Wednesday. He missed the week. Right. Bring on. He's coming next.
Yeah.
I predicted.
And it's not because we're looking forward to the guests themselves, because we might be able to see them on different platforms, but we can't wait to see them have the conversation with him.
Yes.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that because you talked just a minute ago about sort of that fear of making connections through family. And Shannon Sharp, I think recently did an interview where he talked about how he got the Cat Williams interview.
Yeah.
And it was, speaking to a woman in an elevator
Yes. Yes, I
who
heard
said,
that.
"This is my last day at the job."
Mhm.
And he was like, "Oh, okay." And he just happened to just generally being himself,
Yeah.
having conversation, connecting with this woman in the elevator. And she's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go, work for Cat Williams." And he's like, "I'd love to interview them."
Right.
And then it happened.
And also on that point, he was also saying he had been trying to get Cat Williams, but it
Right.
wasn't working out. And so, I mean, it's just so important to me, I'll say, to
Yeah.
just talk to people because you never know
Yeah.
what something that you say can just help open up doors. So,
Yeah. And it's interesting because, we hear this term now, networking, networking,
Mhm.
networking. And I think what comes through with certain people is that when they genuinely want to connect with
Mhm.
others, there's not an intention behind it, right? It's not, "Oh, who are you and what can you do for me?" But I'm really showing up as my authentic self in the spaces where I am. And I feel like that's what happened with him. And, hopefully that will happen for you as you continue. But for now, we need a desperate plug.
someone knows him.
This is the time.
Yes.
That right now we need to use the connection.
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Carol Bush. I have a YouTube show, First and 15th. Somebody do a short for me and just put this out there.
Make it happen. Come through. Come through. Well, let's shift for a second. Career in entrepreneurship, right?
Mhm.
We again, we met as public servants in the human services world. What would you say, just in all your spaces, what meaningful lessons have you learned about leadership and impact?
Okay. Leadership and impact. Now, this may sound arrogant, but I use that preference just because people watching this don't know me, the person. So they know me for maybe watching a clip or watching a show. So let me just say that I am not someone who lives in a arrogant type of mindset. But I will say that with my dad and mom as well, with my dad, since I was a little girl, he instilled greatness in my sister and I.
Shout out to the dad.
Yeah, so thank you, Dad. We love you. He had a hard life, and so he just didn't want his daughters and son as well. My brother, he's older, but my dad instilled greatness in me. So even though as a kid I stuttered, they never had me feel ashamed of who I was. And so I honestly think even still to this day, being in my 40s, I don't know whether it was nurture or nature that just helped me to have these traits of being a leader. Because I mean, John, I don't know. And I just take it with the way it is that I really have no issue with finding with seeing a problem, finding a solution, and then also helping the people who have the problem to maintain that solution. And so, like, those kinds of traits to me are just innate. And so maybe it was nature or nurture, I'm not sure, but that's who I've been since I was in middle school, when I was working at the school bank, in school, and as a branch manager, and then leadership school. Leadership schools. I'm a leader in high school and clubs, and then college. And now that I'm thinking about myself, now, Jonna, every part of my education, even in elementary school, I've had some kind of a leadership role. And I never thought about that even as a small kid. So it's just part of who I am. And I embrace it. But also, as being a leader, I want to see other people succeed.
You do.
I don't want anyone to be left behind. Now, if they don't want to go forward, then that's on them. But I will always do what I can to empower, encourage, whether you're a man, a woman, kid, adult, it doesn't matter. If you're a human and you have something that I see in you, I will help bring it out. Now, hopefully they take it on. So that's just leadership skills that I don't think can always be taught, but there are some of the traits can be taught, and then hopefully others can then pay it forward too.
Sure, sure. That definitely is innate to you, empowering others, encouraging others. In that space, what would you think your biggest advice to women who are thinking about entrepreneurship as an option? What would be the big,
That
what, in this climate, what
Yeah,
would be the
I hear
big,
what you
big
mean.
advice for
So actually, let me tell you how I got into entrepreneurship, because
Okay.
it's nothing to do with YouTube or podcasting.
Got
Because okay, so with my brother and sister and myself, I am the safe one. I am the one who is not a risk taker. I follow the rules, just give me my cubicle job and let me just be by myself and work. But I was talking to a friend, and so with this friend, we had kids who were the same age who were friends ever since kindergarten, and so she was known, well, I'm saying, well, she is known for doing all kinds of like startups, MLM. I'm like, okay, what she doing now? What she doing next? Okay, you got this, and this, and so Pure Romance. For those of y'all don't know, in general, but they sell lotions and maybe I can't say that on YouTube. So for me to say that,
run that back?
yeah. So here the first of all, so this friend was selling Pure Romance items, and so y'all can look up what Pure Romance is on their website. But
I don't know what that is.
you know, are you saying, are you kidding me?
I don't know what it is.
Oh, okay. So this will be like a pause for us. So
It'll be a blooper. You're gonna have a lot of.
Because you can't on YouTube you can say like schmeck schmoys.
yeah. So
You can
yeah,
say like schmecks
yeah.
schmecks objects.
Yeah,
You
so I
can say that.
because I was like, wait a minute.
They want to know.
I didn't realize, but I didn't think about
Yeah,
that.
so I'm gonna make sure you know
I'm
that.
on the different side of the internet, like when they're cats and babies.
So I'll make sure you that part is not,
Okay.
is not in there for us. It's funny.
Yeah.
So okay, so I had this friend, hey Sean, I'm Chantel, Sean, hey Sean, who worked with this company, Pure Romance, and so they sell women's items for intimacy and that kind of stuff. And so I went to one of her parties, and I was like, "You should go again. She doing candles, she doing this." So I was like, "I will always support you, but
Right.
this is interesting." And so she asked me about joining her team. So I already knew it was MLM because I just knew that's how the actual structure was. So that didn't scare me. But I said, sure. So she was surprised. I said yes, because again, I'm the safe friend. I am the not risk taker friend.
Right.
And so that was my first taste into entrepreneurship of working with Pure Romance, which was for 3 years. It was not long term. That was never the plan, to actually like build a team, and that was the plan. It was more like, let me just get a taste of
Sure.
being a business owner in my own little tiny way. And so that helped me see, okay, you can do this. And now Jason, my husband, he is captain business. He can figure things out. I'm like, you're so smart. Please help me. And so he helped me to strategize with my Pure Romance business. And then so when that was over, I was like, okay, well, you try that out. Like, you can definitely do things,
Yeah.
such as have a party planning business. So that helped me to just. What was the question? So that was the because I
Well,
like,
the question was about, this is a talk show. You talk. You be talking. Okay. But
like Karen zip it.
but to your point, you were talking about sort of starting small,
Okay, yes.
and building from that,
Yeah.
especially when we're risk averse.
Yes.
We're afraid of risk.
That
Maybe
is
starting
me.
small.
I don't like risk.
Mhm.
And so I will say that with my mom and my dad too, but my mom, who should actually be a guest on the show, Mom. So I'm gonna get you to be a guest eventually. So
Because Dad's been here.
yeah,
So sweet.
yeah. So they had a podcast. So Mom, I gotta get somebody.
Maybe for Mother's Day.
Good idea. Oh, it does. So with her, okay, so with the business I was starting,
Yeah.
I was actually scared that she would judge me based on like what the main product was. So
Sure.
so yes, they sell like body oil and lotion, but they also sell other stuff too. And so she didn't judge me. So I was like, ooh, okay, that's a relief.
Mhm.
So thank you, Mom, for not judging me for selling pure romance items.
And now,
And
and now
now,
you're here with multiple businesses.
yes.
of your own.
Yes, and I'm just so proud of it because I just never saw myself as a business owner.
Right.
That was what my dad did. He had a business for many, many years, in construction. He retired, but still does it because he doesn't want to be bored. But I would have never ever seen myself owning a business, and business is plural now. And I'm like, well, Carol, you own something.
Yeah.
So I would say to women, to moms, the people who maybe are thinking about starting a business or have a passion or a topic that you can help others with, start small.
Mm.
Test it out. Do a focus group. A friend say, hey, friends, I have this idea of doing blah, blah, blah. What do you think? Like, would you think is helpful? And if the answer is no, you can still pursue it, but just know that who is your audience and then go from there.
Yeah.
Lessons learned from myself.
Lessons learned. Well, we talked about a lot of lessons learned um, throughout our discussion. So let's sort of cap our conversation with I would say legacy and inspiration.
Okay.
Yeah. What would you say is either the inspiration or the legacy that you hope to leave, for your girls, for your community, and also for the people who follow your work?
Okay, so legacy. I prayerfully, thankfully, hopefully have many, many more years to go. So as far as legacy, I want people to know that Carol Bush did not let her differences limit me.
Mhm.
I use more of my pros that I have in myself than my cons. And so not saying that stuttering is a con, but pros and cons. I've been able to find more good in myself than the, I guess, negative of, oh, you talk differently. And so with the legacy, I would want people, number one, who do sound differently to know that it's okay to step out, whether you want to have a podcast, whether you want to be a public speaker, whether you want to do a TED talk or whatever. If you're someone who stutters, just know that you are valued, you are loved, and what you have to say matters. So don't let anyone tell you it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
That is part of legacy. And then overall, as being a mother and a wife, I would just want my family to know that even though we had a few years of maybe things being different, that in the end, there was so much greatness that came from me finding myself as a woman and then therefore being a better person for the family.
Yeah.
So that is the little legacy. And then maybe a big legacy. Maybe someone in another country will watch the podcast. Actually, people do and watch my show in Vietnam and India. So I'm like, is that really real?
What's happening?
Yeah, I'm like, which is great. I'm like,
Yeah.
so in terms, of a long-term legacy, I really hope people just know that being a leader is okay. Taking a risk is okay. Having the courage enough to keep on going, even through your setbacks.
Mm. That's the important message that you're sharing, with others today. I think you're sharing it as you make the decisions that you are, as you lead the life that you're living, right? You're saying that message even
Yeah.
without words.
Yeah.
I want to talk about it. I tell you that off camera. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that.
she
I'll tell you
definitely
that
does. You
multiple
definitely
times.
do. Appreciate that so much.
So let's talk about another message. Let's talk about a message to yourself.
Okay.
If you were to go back to little Carol, you described how you were even as a young person, right? And I think a lot of that you said, and you've also displayed a lot of that from your youth that's carried on into your adulthood, that foundation of confidence and resilience and moving past anything that you see as a negativity and focusing on the positive and to keep going.
Yeah.
So going back to that little girl, what would you go back and tell her? What would you go back and tell that little girl today?
Wow.
Knowing what you know through all of your, your life's lessons.
That's something that I haven't thought about much as an adult. But then knowing that I do have daughters who are going to be maybe going through things. So telling myself something as a little, okay, so I'm telling little Carol.
Little Carol. Yeah.
I would say, don't let those things that maybe made you feel different stop you. And some of those things don't even involve how I sound. Some of those
That's
things
powerful.
involve how I look.
Right.
And just not to let, I'll say even my skin color, don't let any of those things that you are born with discourage you as the older Carol. So I would tell little Carol, yes, you wear glasses, you stutter sometimes.
And were they thick glasses?
Oh, they were real.
Mine were too. Mine were very thick.
Since
they still are.
They got contacts.
Look, even my contacts are thick. It's girl.
I can't fight with that. But like for the young Carol, I would just, as the adult Carol, tell her, don't let how you sound, how you look, make you feel like you aren't worthy enough to accomplish anything. And shout out to my mom and dad, and also to my aunts and uncles, because they were a phenomenal influence. And I'm saying were, still are at this age of 43. They're still an influence on my life. So I would just say, just don't let those things stop.
Yeah.
And also be kind to people. Now, on a different episode, somehow I'm going to talk about how my how the birth of my youngest daughter changed my life. And so that's another episode that I'll figure out how to do that. But I would say be kind to people, because for me, there was a period in my early 20s where I was still nice, but I would hold a grudge. And so I would say, don't hold a grudge because it's not worth it. So I definitely pass all those things.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that it sounds like the things that, in spite of what you may have thought would slow you down or hold you back, or fears, those other things, you still have continued to make decisions to move yourself forward. So resiliency comes to mind. Use that word courage over and over again. And yeah, I really appreciate the example that you showed even in my life. So I'm glad to have this conversation with you. So where can we find you? We know we can find you here in person. And that's where, we find you and your guests, but also we find really where all your passions and your strengths come together, right here at Person 15. But you got a lot of other stuff on.
Yes.
So where else in all of this, can we find Carol?
All this entrepreneurship that was sparked in September 2022. So you can find more about what you can find more of what's going on with me at itscarolbush.com. And this course is KARALBUSH. So it's carolbush.com. And Redefined You, which is REDEFINEDYOU.com. And also Ashanga Lee Events, which is named after my three daughters, Ashley, Angelina, and Aaliyah. And so I just am just grateful for you having that idea. Because again, I would have never thought about having me as a guest on my own show, because I'm just more about bringing out what other people have to
Yeah.
offer and like really showing their light. So thanking you for saying,
Mhm.
Carol, you should be a guest on your show. I was like, okay. So I really, really value our friendship.
Yeah.
I value you seeing that in me because for me, I'm being myself.
Yeah.
And I thank you so much for that,
Yeah.
Jonna.
Thank you. It's so beautiful because when we really think about the strengths that others have in our lives, you know me, I'm an ideation girl. All of the
Yes, she be with
I
the
just
ideas.
flying, flying, flying,
And I'm
flying, flying.
like,
Right.
fine.
Exactly. And that's the point. Sometimes we can be so strong in those strengths that we have that it becomes a blinder for other things, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes when I will spill, idea to
Yeah.
you and you'll make it seem like it's such a bright idea. And I'm thinking to myself, that just was an idea. Like ideas come a dime a dozen. But then when it comes to me saying an idea, doing it is so difficult. And that's where I've really drawn, and admired your abilities and your strengths to execute. You make it happen. So, that's a really good reason, in this space, in this world that we live in, especially with women of color. I'm so proud of us because we really do see the value in one another, the strengths of one another, and not looking to exploit those, but really willing to allow our strengths to bring out the best in each other. So,
Yes.
yeah.
I am looking forward to all that you have going on. And also, I'm looking forward to what I have going on still because there's just so much greatness and goodness in you, myself, other people. And I'm just ready for a reset. Last year was hard.
Yeah.
And I was depressed for almost half a year. I mean, he's passed away. But I just knew that, okay, Carol, you got to keep on going because, again, it is being scared of not doing it, being scared of letting myself down.
Yeah.
So we're gonna make it happen.
Yes, we're gonna make it happen. And for everybody else too, make it happen. Whatever it is that you're sitting on, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be the media extraordinaire or the entrepreneur extraordinaire doing 8 different jobs. But whatever it is in your life that you're sitting on, I'm telling myself as I tell you, Carol, you've been an excellent example of that. Great to talk with you on your own show today. We're going to turn it back over to First and 15th, and Carol will be the host the next time you see this show. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in to hear Carol's story today. And please continue to support this young lady and the First and 15th.